Thrill me.
I'm gonna name you Coda. You get a name too, Poto.
I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
You too? You got a boner too? Blue Steel.
Welcome, everybody, to another Q's and T's installment of the Unkind Rewind. I'm Josh Dugan, hailing from the North Star State.
You had to think about it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what I was going to go with. I was going to talk about, vernal Minnesota, but fuck it. No need to time. Oh, never mind. This is going out tomorrow. Doesn't matter. I can timestamp it.
Are you currently in third winter?
We got dumped on like a week ago, but it's pretty much melted. It was like 60 degrees yesterday.
Okay, so you're springtime. You're fake summer.
Yeah. I mean, there's still like a mound. There's still like at that tiny Target.
Uh-huh.
There's like a mountain of snow in like a corner of the parking lot where all of it was plowed to, but
Pristine
most of it's
snow,
melted.
I bet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, not gross at all. How are things, Sean?
Oh, hi everybody. Things are good. Yeah. Let's see.
That's Sean McGrath, by the way, the other person talking on the phone here. You're talking on the line here.
Yeah, I'm almost done with my second foray into Japanese language class.
Okay.
So I think by the end of 2 10-week classes, you're fluent, right?
Yeah, totally.
Is that how it works?
Very, a lot of crossover between Japanese and English.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have stolen a lot of baseball terms. So, Josh, you probably know a lot of Japanese. You know,
Yeah.
Homorane,
Uh-huh.
bata up. I think
All the
that's
important ones.
Yeah. Homorana, bata up, and Ichiro Suzuki. And then that's like a 85% fluency level. And the rest are just participles.
Right. Yeah, it's all conjugation and
Yeah.
How are things in New York? Other than Japanese class?
Yeah, things are okay. I had some friends go check out the Glengarry Glen Ross show with Kieran Culkin, Bob Odenkirk, Michael McKean,
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr, yeah. The other guys, I apologize for not knowing the full cast, but those are the heavy hitters. With Odenkirk playing the Jack Lemmon character and Culkin playing the Pacino, the Ricky Roma. Mm-hmm. And they said it was fantastic. This was just in preview, so it's only going to get a little bit better with age. One of the hotter tickets, probably, I imagine, with a...
That and Othello right now?
That and Othello, yeah, but just kind of coming off of the Oscar sheen.
Sure.
Also, took a kind of an odd job helping a friend clean some windows at a brownstone, which is my first foray into that. Speaking of forays, guess whose brownstone it was? You don't know this, so I can give you a hint. It is the parents of an Oscar winner, parents of a female Oscar winner, somebody who hails from New York, somebody who grew up in New York.
Yeah.
And parents who couldn't clean the windows themselves. This is tough because you're digesting, almost 100 years. So it can't be
Meryl Streep's parents.
What if I said it's a Best Supporting Actress winner? I think Meryl Streep's parents are dead.
Well, that I was figuring I was making them very, very old.
This person's parents are presumably in their 80s.
Okay. Best Supporting.
Are in their
Marissa
80s.
Tomei.
You got it.
All right. Sweet.
So I was like, this is really weird because they have a huge My Cousin Vinny poster. And then they were like, okay, well, that's not out of the ordinary, you know?
Mm-hmm.
People can love that movie. People can have that poster.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh, they also have like photos of Marissa Tomei with like foreign and national dignitaries.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
funny.
So, like, I don't know if you would be, like, a hardcore super fan of Marissa Tomei and have her, like, sitting next to Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, or Desmond Tutu, or...
Yeah, or, like...
Sorry, Bishop Desmond Tutu.
Kind of doing the double arm embrace, like, holding onto the forearms of one another with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, right.
And then, like, a very close, like, almost cheek-to-cheek photo of her and Obama.
This is quite the coincidence, because I believe it was last night. This would be earlier this week for anyone listening. Movie Night Extravaganza did My Cousin Vinny.
Whoa. That's a weird tie-in.
And our guest this week, who we'll talk to, in 20 minutes or so, is Conan Neutron, who can be heard and seen on his music podcast, Protonic Reversal, and on Movie Night Extravaganza, where he's a co-host.
Sure.
Both of those broadcast live weekly on YouTube and can be found on every podcast platform. Conan's band, Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, have a brand new album, The Way of the Neutron, which drops next week and can be pre-purchased on Bandcamp. It'll be streaming everywhere next week as well. The lead single, Who Dares, looks to be streaming everywhere. And Chekhov's Grift and Sharks Keep Coming, the second and third songs, can currently be streamed on the Bandcamp page for the album. It'll be streaming everywhere starting Thursday, March 20th, 2025. So when next week's episode drops, The Way of the Neutron will be available for public consumption. Everyone should act accordingly. Really dig when this is recording, Sharks Keep Moving hasn't dropped, but I really dig the first two songs. Their upcoming tour dates can be found at neutronfriends.com. They've got upcoming dates with Mr. Phil's at the Liars Club in Chicago on Thursday, March 27th, Mickey's Tavern in Madison on Friday, March 28th, White Lilac in Kenosha, Wisconsin on Saturday, March 29th, and at Wild Antics 2025, along with a slew of other bands at X-Ray Arcade in Cudahy, Wisconsin on Sunday, March 30th. April 1st through the 11th, they'll be playing dates in Japan. So if you're in any of the areas in the greater Tokyo metropolis, Fukuyama, Osaka Prefecture, and Tokushima, get your ass out to those shows. There are like 5 different shows in the
That's a
greater
wide
Tokyo
range.
metropolis. Yeah.
But you said Osaka, right?
Osaka, there are 2 shows in the Osaka area too.
Yeah, so he's going from coast to coast, basically. He's going
or
from...
up and down the East Coast.
Osaka's pretty far west, if he is going to Osaka.
Okay.
Yeah.
But most of them are eastern lying.
Okay. It's
Anyway.
great that, he's getting to Osaka, but...
Yeah.
I assume he needs a translator, which is why I'll be going.
Yes.
Because almost done with level 2.
Yeah. They're also playing on the Sunday show, or the Sunday lineup at the Noisy Festival he helps curate, Caterwall 2025, which will be taking place over Memorial Day weekend at Mortimer's, the 331 Club, and Jora Darling in Minneapolis. That's May 23rd through the 26th, for those who don't know when Memorial Day is. And as Conan will tell you later, you can find him on the socials under the eponymous handle of Conan Neutron on the platform of your choosing. Links to all of these things are in the show notes, wherever you're taking in this podcast.
So he must have known that I was going to clean Marissa Tomei's parents' windows.
He must have. Yeah, they had a sixth sense of it over at Movie Night Extravaganza.
This is what happens when you come on and you're a guest of our show, is that you kind of like sync cycles with us.
Yeah, big time.
This is as close as we're going to get, probably, to...
Yeah, I can't wait until the supermoon.
Mm-hmm. But very nice people, by the way. the tomes,
Yeah.
as you would imagine.
Have you been taking anything in? Watching anything?
I just binge watched the Australia season of Alone.
Okay. Or
Which-
Tasmania, yeah.
Tasmania, yeah. Did you see that?
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, it was good. You know, in an area where so much can kill you.
Someone tapped out on day one, right?
I feel like that kind of happens. Like maybe they
Every
do
once in a while, but it hadn't happened. I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they stayed a night.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that if I remember correctly, there have been situations where they've gotten dropped off.
Oh, definitely. There was the
then,
one with he saw a wolf in the middle of the night and he was like, well, fuck that.
Didn't a guy fall on one of his arrows too or something?
Yeah, that was in the one where they're meeting up with each other, I think.
Yeah.
That happened because then the other one went to Mongolia. The other brother went to Mongolia, and wasn't he the pine bark one?
What does that mean?
The one who fucking had a brick of pine bark in his stomach because he thought he had like a pine bark hack.
Oh God, I forgot about that. Yeah, there was the one where they were on the duo season where they like basically had to helicopter into the guy and be like, yeah, your brother's in the hospital.
Yeah. Like they had dropped him off like 3 hours earlier and that guy impaled himself on something. Yeah.
But it's a really good season. I don't know if they're doing a concurrent, because this felt like such an outlier, you know, like it's Alone, Australia. So I don't know if they're probably working on something back in, you know, the Canadian Northern Territories.
Sure.
It was cool to kind of get a little bit of a variance in topography, because Mongolia was cool. Didn't they go like Patagonia once or something?
Yeah, because they said Patagonia 9 million times in that season.
Yeah. Yeah, great season. And that's been kind of the main media I've been ingesting.
Okay.
Anything from you?
We finished the new season of Love Is Blind is in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And so like everybody has a tangential relationship to, or like a tangential, not relationship, but like a tangential, like minor connection to like one or two of the cast members. Like one of the women on the show grew up on the block that my sister lives on now. And so like her parents lived there, or her mom lived there when my sister moved in like 10 years ago.
And this is the season, the clip that I saw that perhaps has jumped into the zeitgeist is the woman who left the guy because he was MAGA or something.
Yes. It's that girl actually. She grew up on my sister's street.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody who basically like walked the aisle, right? Went to the altar.
Well, that's a whole setup. Like they basically get engaged before they like meet each other face to face.
Okay.
And then barring like some sort of disaster, they like walk down the aisle and then decide if love is blind. It's a dumb precept, but
they did see each other before this juncture.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
They after, so they do this like fucking pod setup where the couples date from one side or the other. And then like they decide if they have connected like emotionally without any, you know, without having seen each other, and then they have a chance to connect physically. The guy, the MAGA guy, I don't want to talk too much out of school, but he worked at the same place that my brother worked at.
Oh, right on.
And he kind of when the episode was taping in the Twin Cities, there was a lot of talk about him on social media, and it was not flattering. This is when before it was airing. This is like this guy had a reputation, we'll say,
Okay.
that the show minimized.
Gotcha.
From the dating scene. Yeah.
Okay, so
It doesn't matter that much. The show's not good.
Right.
And I don't want to watch any other seasons. It was mildly interesting because it was Minnesota people, I guess.
So it's only a matter of time before this guy's like secretary of a department.
Yeah,
in the administration.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I haven't watched any of that show, so
you don't need to.
I don't need to.
I promise.
Probably. Thank you.
I can assure you, you do not need to.
I'll just stick to survivalists out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Try to not go crazy.
Well, that might have some benefit to you. As society circles the drain. Yeah,
I know that I can eat I know that platypuses are protected species. I know that you can't hunt Tasmanian devils. Those are also protected species. So those are two things that I wouldn't have got on Love is Blind.
No. And I mean, you wouldn't have found out on Love is Blind that you shouldn't just eat pine bark.
Very true. Yeah. Which I had been doing, right?
Yeah.
You know me.
Uh-huh.
It's a huge thing for me.
Big time.
And then I saw that show. I was like, oh,
it's kind of your thing.
Kind of my thing. Yeah. So I had to scale back. I still do a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to vary your diet some.
Yeah. I gum it now.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So last week we obviously we watched Gymkata.
Well, maybe we watched Gymkata last week. I mean, I assume you watch it every week. But we had an episode
absolutely.
We had an episode about Gymkata.
Yeah, we sure did. Now, in the Oscar talk that you and I had before Greg's pre-interview, you said that some people thought that Brody's win for The Pianist in 2002, the year of Chicago, may have been because two other actors split the vote. And we weren't looking anything up at this point, but you're thinking that maybe it was Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington for Gladiator and Hurricane. Crowe was nominated the year prior for A Beautiful Mind alongside fellow also-rans Will Smith for Ollie, Tom Wilkinson for In the Bedroom, and Sean Penn for I Am Sam. Ugh.
So did Denzel win for Training Day for that year?
Denzel won for Training Day the year before.
Oh, okay.
Now, Brody beat Michael Caine for The Quiet American, Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs of New York, Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt, and Nicolas Cage for Adaptation.
Wow, okay. Strong year.
Yeah, and a year that Brody should not have won, probably.
Wow. I mean...
I'm beating Daniel Day-Lewis for Gangs and Nicolas Cage for Adaptation.
Very strong year. I mean, Michael Caine was never in the running, but...
No.
But those other four are pretty mighty.
Yeah.
The other three.
Oh, we haven't talked about the Oscars at all, but...
I was happy with many things.
Yeah.
I think, like, this could be a bellwether year, this could be an aberration.
It's probably an outlier.
Yeah. I think the biggest one, though, for me, that was, like, weird, maybe the things are trending in the right directions, had nothing to do with Anora, and had to do with animated feature.
Yeah, I was figuring you were gonna go with Flo beating out Wild Robot.
Flo beating out Wild Robot, I think, it was the first time where I thought, like, oh, they actually probably saw all the nominees in this category, as opposed to just putting their finger on the pulse of what people were talking about at the water cooler down at the Academy.
Right.
But I think that's a really good indication that whatever, hard talk they had to have in the last, say, 5 so years might be showing some fruits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't like how I don't like runaways. I don't like runaway, like, sure thing locks in sports, and I don't like it in award shows.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Both the supportings were runaways.
both the supportings were, absolute. Bet the house
Mhm.
on those. But it was kind of nice that, like, Mikey Madison was a surprise in some small respects. That Demi was kind of doing the what was Michael Keaton's, like, presumptive win? Was it for Birdman, where it was like, oh, he's gonna win, right? Had the speech, like, ready to pull out of his pocket.
Yeah.
Had to quickly pocket that back, or even like Glenn Close, right? When the smart money for the wife,
for Albert Nobbs.
Well, it was going to be for the wife. I think it was like
it was.
And Olivia Colman kind of snuck in there and got up to the podium drunk. Like, those are really, nice surprises. I don't think Mikey was by any means a dark horse, but it was great to kind of see her.
No, it was a 1A, 1B. Everyone was going with 1A.
Yeah.
Yeah. Handicapping wise, at least. Now, while we were talking about the fate of the recast love interest from the open of Gymkata, I was trying to think of the director of Hard Ticket to Hawaii and Malibu Express. That's Andy Sedaris.
Okay. Because what did it have to do with the love interest?
Well, that I figured she was moving over to Andy Sedaris movies.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Now the actress we were talking about, we didn't name in the episode, but that's Sharon Lee. I assume because that's the character's name is Connie.
She had
She
one
looks
scene,
to have had
right?
bit parts in Something Wicked This Way Comes, The Vals, and A Fine Mess, and a few guest spots opposite Stacy Keach in The New Mike Hammer.
So she had one scene.
Yeah, she was in the opening scene and clearly was the love interest, like when he's doing gymnastics.
Yeah, she gets roadblocked by some CIA stooge.
Yeah, she's shunted off to nowhere because
it's basically like
it was Greg's presumption that she was recast.
Yeah, she's the CIA, or she's the version of, like, Elizabeth Shue in The Karate Kid. If Daniel San was approached by the CIA directly after that,
yes,
Simi Valley or wherever the hell they were, karate meet. So yeah, like, Daniel San hobbles back to the locker room, and then is approached by, black ops.
Yeah.
Informing him that it's only him. He's the only one who's capable of doing this because of the crane kick.
Right.
To venture into Parmistan. And we never see Elizabeth Shue again. And we actually, that's funny because Karate Kid 2 starts, like, at that meet, and they all go into the parking lot. And we don't see
there's
Elizabeth
a scene
Shue.
where Mr. Miyagi puts Kreese in his place.
Yeah. But we don't see Elizabeth Shue there.
Right.
She's off doing adventures in babysitting or something.
Now, I did mention in the episode that martial arts films would have been de rigueur in 1984, citing The Karate Kid surely being a top 10 film of the year, which we all kind of agreed. Yeah, it was a massive hit. It was number 4, finishing the calendar year with... Sorry, I've got guys outside my window. Give me a second. They're
Swatted?
like ripping the ivy off.
Okay.
It was number 4, finishing the calendar year with $90.8 million domestic. It did get passed by December release Beverly Hills Cop in the following year, with Beverly Hills Cop ending up outgrossing even Ghostbusters over its domestic theatrical run. So
that's great.
Massive hit. Especially for an R-rated comedy. Huge. You wanted to know who beat Kurt Thomas for the Razzie for Worst New Star.
Always.
It was Brigitte Nielsen.
Oh, so it's co-ed.
Yeah.
For Cobra?
She had been in both Red Sonja and Rocky IV that year.
Oh, so she won kind of cumulative.
Won for her work in, yeah.
Oh, that's not fair to Kurt.
I agree. The other nominees in the category were Ariane from Year of the Dragon, which I haven't seen, and Julia Nixon Soul for Rambo 3 First Blood Part 2. Oh, and the other nominee in the category was the new computerized Godzilla in Godzilla 1985.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is why I don't take the Razzies seriously. Now, after watching, but before the episode dropped, Mobius 13 skeeted. Okay, so I watched it and it truly did not disappoint. It is so bad in all the right ways. Ridiculous story, acting I can only compare to the student film I did for a buddy in college. I laughed all the way through this. My only complaint is a two-faced man. More nightmares for the next 20 years.
Yeah, Two-Faced Man's fucked up.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
If only Two-Faced Man was also backless robe man.
Yeah, then it would be less terrifying.
I think it'd be too much.
Well, but at least you would know that the first face was a lie.
What if the first?
Because that guy does not have a face on above his ass,
Yeah, unless it goes down from the first face and it shows that the butt's on that side.
Yeah. Which I mean, that's how we obviously would shoot that. You and I would.
Yeah. A pan down befitting Neil Jordan.
We're starting on like a 2-button shot.
Yeah.
Of No Face Man. And then pan down as you pan down bare skin to what half the audience is hoping is a dick and half the audience is hoping isn't.
Could have been both.
Yeah.
I mean, Town of the Crazies is... I just think, like, that's such a movie. That's such a weird...
That's the movie.
20 minutes, right? It's all it gets. Yeah.
I mean, that's easily the most memorable part of the movie.
The gate slams shut, and he is in a world of pain.
Yeah.
A psychological pain.
Also, following the Q's and Tease drop, Gopher Ball skeeted, Royals talk. And then I watched this movie with my mom. Well, the first 5 minutes anyway. She was a fan of the star, Kurt Thomas. Knew nothing about the movie when it came up next, when it came, quote, up next on HBO, and presumed it was a sports movie. I, of course, said nothing. So her cursing me out is now a cherished childhood memory.
Yeah, I don't know if this... like, moms in general are a tough demo for Gymkata, I think.
Yeah.
It's a tough sit.
After the episode dropped, Gopher Ball said, to celebrate, I will perform double leg circles on the pommel horse, conveniently located in the middle of the village square. Mobius 13 followed up after listening to the main event. Loved this episode, loved the movie, and loved Greg Schaum's takes on Gymkata and growing up in the 80s. Fun fact, Richard Norton is Australian, and whenever Hong Kong needed a foreign R.E. White villain martial artist, he'd get the call since he was nearby, relatively speaking. And by the way, Blue Ridge Mall for life, nothing better than watching movies in the mall basement. So he grew up going to the same mall as Greg. Then Mobius 13 took a dive into the author of the book from which Gymkata's script was adapted. Said he went down a rabbit hole, and the guy who wrote the original story the movie was, quote, based on, was incredibly interesting. His father was a personal friend of Teddy Roosevelt, and he worked under Joseph Kennedy for the U.S. SEC as an investment banker. During World War II, he was a spy master for the OSS. After the war, he went into business with Eliot Ness, then began lecturing around the country on fraud and writing short fiction for publications like the Saturday Evening Post.
It's like a Forrest Gump.
Yeah. A lot of names dropped in a paragraph about this person's life.
Yeah, somebody needs to write a book about this guy.
Yeah.
Screw Gymkata.
I mean,
or
well, Gymkata's real is, I think, what the implication here is.
Yeah. I could see Teddy Roosevelt doing some fucking...
Oh, yeah. Teddy Roosevelt Gymkata'd.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how he won the Spanish-American War.
He's Gymkata'ing left and right.
Do you know what is who believes Gymkata is a fundamental part of training? The Rough Riders.
Yeah. Yeah. San Juan Hill.
Absolutely. Rough Riders. Gymkata.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's how that whole thing was an easy victory. Because they had no idea how do you defend that if you don't know it's coming?
Yeah, you don't.
You don't. You die.
Yeah. On Threads, the Scottish variety podcast Chat Tsunami responded to our Gymkata post saying, "Oh God, I've seen this one. It's certainly an experience." To which I could only respond that I was pretty sure this was the most important film that we've done.
If you look, I know before we move away, if you look at the old black and white photos of the Rough Riders, they have like double handles on their saddles so they can pommel horse their actual horses.
Yeah.
Okay.
They also always carry rosin.
Yes. I know that we're probably going to get, emails about this, so we're just kind of jumping the gun a little bit. So we don't need more, like, you guys didn't mention that the Rough Riders had pommel horse handles on their saddles.
Yeah, and rosin.
And rosin bags.
We are mentioning this.
Yes. Okay, so...
Yeah.
Curtail
Rough Riders, Gymkata'd all through.
Yeah, fuck you, Cuba.
It was Cuba, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
On Facebook, Nick Hartle said, "I'm proud to say back in the mid-2000s, Warner had a request this title feature on Amazon. Periodically, they would take heavily requested titles they could release and have a vote. I was part of a small group that both spammed the request for Gymkata and then subsequently helped flood the votes. Ironically, I never ended up buying it when it did come out on DVD. But I think we all need to thank you for your service, Nick."
Yeah. Gymkata deserves a laser disc.
Big time.
I told myself I wasn't going to say fuck you, Cuba, again this episode. And I did it. So sorry again. That's something that we talked about like offline, but
yeah. We're going to need somewhere to go.
I know. I'm going to need a new catchphrase.
Yeah. We love you, Cuba. Take us in, please.
Yeah, please. Save us.
Yeah. Now, Greg reached out.
Oh. Gymkata Greg?
Gymkata Greg reached out about Firstborn.
Oh, cool.
Saying, "Not sure if we talked about this, but I got to know Chris Collette in Los Angeles, the star of Firstborn."
Yeah. Unsung Chris Collette, perhaps.
Yes. We worked together for a marketing company. Absolutely a great guy. And he shared with me his time in the movies. I had no idea, but at some point on a drive to UC Irvine, he told me all about his career. He ended up marrying a girl from Kansas City, and I just happened to run into him when he was visiting her family. Small world. He lives in New York now.
Maybe I could run into him.
Be pretty cool.
Yeah. Maybe we could do a special Q's and T's with him.
But it feels like the world of Unkind Rewind keeps getting bigger and then shrinking down. Getting smaller.
Yeah. I did mention Marissa Tomei's parents.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, we've covered everything, I think. We should probably throw to our pre-interview.
Yeah, we should probably,
with
talk
Conan Neutron.
Yes, let's get into some hard talk with Conan.
Yeah. Really fun chat. Conan's the best.
Yeah, funny guy.
Do not call him Conan.
I didn't.
No, not you. I'm talking about our audience.
Oh, why would they?
I mean,
we have a cool audience.
I hope they wouldn't.
No. Well, they're legit. They're not fuck ups.
Yeah. But yeah, Conan Neutron, new album out when the main event drops. The new album, The Way of the Neutron, will be out. Obviously, check out both his podcasts, Protonic Reversal and Movie Night Extravaganza, which again just dropped. My Cousin Vinny.
My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
Her biological clock is ticking.
It is. Great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Love My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably talk about that at some point, I hope.
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine that doesn't pop up. Although it might be one of those that's like, it's just ever present enough that you always have kind of rewatched in the last like 5 to 10 years. But
yeah,
who knows? Hopefully it pops up. But without further ado, Conan. Welcome, everybody, to another Q's and T's installment of the Unkind Rewind. I am Josh Dugan. I'm joined by my co-host, Sean McGrath. How are things, Sean?
all right, good. I was just talking about getting slightly robbed by my neighbors, but tragedy's averted.
Yeah.
It was an old man who thought I was putting my groceries down
For
to
him,
donate. Yes. And we do. I mean, there are those things. We're a little past the giving season, but occasionally there are these bins of food where people donate non-perishables. There's a lot of old people in my building. I absolutely get how he thought maybe it was just kind of extended hours on the on the giving tree, but I had some slick looking detectives find this guy somehow through surveillance footage and knock on his door and reprimand him and get my groceries back. So there is a missing chocolate bar, but I mean, I think that's the price of doing business in New York.
Yeah, that's the toll.
There needs to be like novel to novella, right? There needs to be robbery to a diminutive of robbery, where it's just like a lesser robbery.
Yeah.
This was a cartoonish pie robbery from a windowsill.
Like the smell wave, and they're levitating towards the smell. Yeah,
yeah. Except with like an 8-pack of Good and Gather sparkling water. But other than that, the aroma lines that come wafting off those.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We this week are lucky to be joined by Conan Neutron of like everything. So for the audience at home, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so yeah, I play in a rock band known as Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. I make records, tour, all that good stuff. Done that for over, I think 10-year anniversary is coming up for that. Actually, maybe it already happened. But I've also do a one-on-one, usually interview, music discussion interview show called Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal that just celebrated 10 years this last April. And I'm on a movie show called Movie Night Extravaganza. That is a lively, quick-moving panel discussion movie show that happens weekly. It's probably most of interest to your listeners.
Sure. But former guest Jeremy,
that's right,
who we did Beastmaster with, knows you from Protonic Reversal. So
great episode, hilarious.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. I mean, Beastmaster's an absurd movie.
You can hear Beastmaster in our opening credits.
Yeah. Season 2 opening credits has Beastmaster in it.
You can really hear the Beastmaster in it.
You can really hear his attempt at a eagle cry.
It is pretty stunning work, really.
Yeah.
So mostly, music, podcasts, mostly. I throw a 4-day music festival called Caterwall with my ex-label guy as well in Minneapolis. See, I forget things that I do too. All the time.
And
busy
that'll
little
be,
guy, as they say.
When's Caterwall this year?
May. You think I would know it off the top of my head, right? It is May 23rd through 26th in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
And for the listeners at home,
I may try to drop this in season 2 then, since there's actual promotion of it and there are Minnesota listeners.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. This may
tickets
may
are
be
already
able to
on
drop
sale,
this.
so I mean, like if you know, or maybe it's over depending on when you're listening to it. Who knows?
Right. It may have already happened because we re-record these way in advance. But I may be able to shuffle things around and get this in before that.
Well, in that case, new record, Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends, The Way of the Neutron, out now.
Nice.
Even if we dropped this in a couple years, like that still might be.
It's still gonna be relevant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But just the festival wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And that's where
I could drop my tour dates, and that would be probably a bad idea. First of all, it would take forever.
Right.
Secondly, it'd be like that already happened, bro. Okay. Thanks.
And where in Minneapolis is Caterwaull?
Like what venues or like like geolocation data or
no like the venues it happens at
Mortimer's or Darling 331 Club. We historically had been Palmer's and Mortimer's, but we changed it up this year and it's to accommodate more space because it's been growing.
Right on. No, I thought it was Mortimer's, but I get it confused in my head with there's another thing right by Mortimer's that I sometimes jumble. So
sure.
Yeah.
And it's also just like a venue where it's like a dude's name. You know,
right.
Sam's.
Was it
Okay,
Rudolph's? Was Rudolph's right there too?
Probably.
I can't remember. Anyway,
so if you're heading to Woodstock '94, check out Conan Neutron.
Exactly.
You've also been in other bands that preceded.
Yeah.
Conan Neutron and the Special Friends.
Secret Friends, not special. It is
Secret
special,
shit.
but the name of the band is
Secret. I know. I have the goddamn tab open.
I've had people very confidently announce us with that, and very confidently.
I have the tab open. Yeah.
You have a sentence-long band name. You buy the ticket to take the ride, man.
Right.
I was in a band called Replicator that was around for about 10 years. That's like the second most well-known band from 2000s, kind of noise rock affair. I was in a band called Mount Vicious, did a lot within the short time we were around. Victory and Associates, about 4 years pre-Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Household Gods with Dave Pajo of Slint and Vern Rumsey of Unwound. Very short-lived, unfortunately kind of died on the vine. Band as well. And I also... play in a deeply inscrutable band called Action Chief as well.
Okay.
But as much as I just said all that, people are like, oh, you just play in a lot of bands. Not really. Because that's over the course of 27 years of like actively touring and making records. Like, and I've basically been Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends for almost only for last decade. But that said, I did, as I say that, I just remembered I did a record with the Australian band Dead.
Okay.
In summer that either is already out or is going to come out. I don't even know. I don't even know what the hell we're going to call it. Because if like those guys have a 4-letter band name, impossible to search for, but badass.
Yeah,
right?
Especially when it's
Dead.
a word that common. Good fucking luck.
Yeah, good luck searching. But did you do Dead with Conan Neutron?
How did they say Dead? Is it Did?
Did. Yeah. Oh man, being on tour, those guys rocked. I was just sitting there, just like. It's like, hell yeah. Like, hey, what do you think about it? And I would say something just, what are they going to say? How are they going to say it? Awesome.
Every Australian I met seems to have a kind of a weird predilection for Corona beer as well. I don't know if that ever came up with you, but like they love saying Corona, and I think part of it is that they get to order with that accent.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, no, that's great.
Let me get a Corona.
Get a Corona.
My favorite word is an
Wake
Australian.
and Fright. That's a great film.
I always like to write down this word and make them say it when I meet an Australian. OPPORTUNITY, because they will drop an opportunity. They can't say that T to save their life.
That's awesome. That rocks.
That's how you like that's the polygraph on an Australian.
That's great.
If they give you a hard CH on an opportunity.
So not just Jem and Jace taking shrapnel in this conversation, but the entire Australian continent.
Yeah.
Well, we have Renee Ruins at one of our regulars on Moving Extravaganza.
Australia knows how I feel about it.
And sometimes it is nice to.
It comes up every podcast.
Bikies. I was like, bikies. Explain
Bikies.
What is that? And it's like, okay, you're talking about like motorcycle club. All right.
Have you been down there yet, Conan?
No, I would love to. We had an attempt we were moving towards in 2020 that, like everything in 2020.
Oh yeah.
Cut to.
Did
dumpster
COVID
fire.
kill household gods too?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you guys were going to tour, right?
I mean, yeah, and not to find a point on it, but Vern started drinking again, so you could argue that it literally killed him. But
Oh yeah.
Wow.
that's a whole other podcast. And also, the man was an
COVID can
alcoholic.
kill gods.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Andy Gill died too. They never said it was COVID.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's okay. Dark, but
Yeah, that's
but no,
a
I would
bummer.
love to go to Australia. We've talked about it. We talked about doing McCluskey. Like the airfare for whatever reason was like, I'm like, what? You can get that's like a down payment for a house. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But if that changes, we will. Depending on when this airs, we are going to Japan, or we will have already gone to Japan.
Okay.
Which
When's
is
the
very exciting.
Japan?
April.
April?
of
Okay.
And have you
2025.
been there before?
Fuck no. Oh, sorry. I should clean
No,
it up.
it's-
No, you can absolutely curse.
You can swear.
I try not to unless it's making a point.
I was there for the first time last year, and I really took to it.
I'm very
It-
excited.
I'm surprised it took me that long. I think people that know me a little bit. were
Yeah, I
surprised it
was
took-
shocked that you'd
took me
never
that
fucking
long.
been there. But
Yeah, I've played almost every inch of the U.S. and I've played in Canada some as well, but I've never played off of North America. So
I'll say that the best
it's
part
huge.
about Japan for me, and I'll go ahead and presume for you, is going to be the things that you can't take a picture of. There's just like an energy that's like really hard to describe. That's just like people just fucking get it. They're just like on it.
I love it.
Everyone's got their kind of shit together. Like it's just, I don't know, like very, very small things. Like there's no jaywalking, right? There's just it doesn't exist. And so if there's no jaywalking, it makes traffic so much more efficient because they're not
Right.
constantly like dead stopping in New York in front of like people jaywalking left and right.
Like leap forward, then turn into a saunter. That's my favorite move. Like, what are you doing? Like you're ambling
Right.
now, like in
Right.
traffic.
Right. So just a small thing, people like line up to go across a crosswalk.
Yeah.
There's like, if you're a smoker, you go behind like a panel that is set up kind of against buildings away from the street so that you're never kind of caught behind a smoker going down the street. They're in their like smoking section that's public. It's very strange, but like you see the logic behind a lot of these moves.
I like it. That's great.
And I'll tell you this, like you're gonna find this when you go over there, but like sickly affordable right now because the
great.
yen is shit.
It's a pet
So
time.
like it's a good time. Like I would get like a pretty nice breakfast and a cappuccino.
Yeah.
It would be like $6, $5.
See, I'm excited for that because I feel like the last 5 tours we went on in the U.S., like gas prices like tripled right before we left, and I was just sitting there like, oh my god, this is the worst.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
So.
Get to Kyoto if you can, but yeah,
We're playing
and then-
Kyoto, or we have
Oh.
played Kyoto. I don't know.
We'll
In my
say
personal
Kyoto.
timeline, it hasn't happened yet, but maybe for you it has.
So, you obviously you live in Milwaukee now, right?
Yeah, I moved to Milwaukee in 2017. I'm from Oakland, California originally.
Okay, and you're like born and raised Oakland.
Yeah, well, I lived in a town called Modesto, which is in the
Sure.
Kansas of California,
Mhm.
and I lived 22 years in Oakland, so the
Okay.
longest place I've ever lived.
Right. So, I guess since this is since we dive into our youth, what was your like childhood with movies like?
Well, my dad got HBO, which again, for the younger
Game
audience,
changer.
Max is what we're talking about. The one to watch. It used to be called HBO. But yeah, whether or not he got the HBO legally or not, I don't know what the statute of limitations is on
Sure.
that. But I, at a very early age, was exposed to the home box office, which is to say many, many movies early on.
Right.
And then
Beyond just the trial weekend too. Right?
beyond the trial weekend. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So plenty of Beastmaster,
Sure.
But then also, because I come from that age, the video store was popular amongst my friends and I. You know, we would have one of the things we did is we would get 2 horror movies. We would get the one that looked the coolest, like the best, and we got the one that looked the worst.
Nice.
And we watched the one that looked like the worst first, and then watched the one that looked good after that, so the good one seemed better by comparison.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Are you going by box art as well as kind of back plot summary? Or...
Yeah. Just like that looks terrible. Like, and what's funny is now I have no desire to ever watch something that I think is going to even be mid, let alone be bad. I won't do it. I like bristle against it, and I wonder if that's maybe trauma of just watching all these like third tier full moon movies and whatnot, where it's like, all right. Yes, I have seen Doll Man versus Demonic Toys, you know. Okay.
This is a very, I just want to kind of call attention to this line of thinking, because I don't really think we've encountered something like this, but getting the best and the worst so that the best seems better type of mentality. That's something that, how did that concept even originate with your group of friends?
That was all Clay. That was his idea. I think he just wanted to gamify it somehow. I'm not entirely certain why. And it's funny because I'm sitting here, watching this trash from the trash can, but I'm also, watching the Seventh Seal and the original Nosferatu and stuff and watching good stuff as well. But it allowed me to sort of develop my taste a little bit earlier, I think, than others. I got to the point that the brief time that I actually went to junior college, the 2 classes I liked were physics and cinematography. And cinematography, that's where I learned who Robert Rodriguez was. So that, after seeing El Mariachi in class, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, I was, Desperado came out. I saw it in the theater because I knew what it was, I was already kind of forming a bit of a lexicon because of that. And also knew that because some of the movies are like, oh, this looks terrible. But actually that was kind of awesome. But it's packaged terribly. And if you read it, it doesn't sound like it works, but it actually does. Mm-hmm. And some of it's oh, I just like that for other reasons. And actually it's terrible,
Sure.
And some are just I don't know. Yeah. Is Nightbreed good enough? I don't know.
Probably not, but
I loved Cronenberg as the bad guy. He was great.
Yeah.
And then I remember the creatures being cool, but...
How would you delineate between kind of your adolescent or childhood movie watching friends versus family?
Well, my dad has been big into action stuff. He went and took me to see RoboCop in the theater because he wanted to see it. So I saw RoboCop really early on, probably too young, frankly.
He hadn't seen it. It was his first time too. And
he just wanted to say, oh, come see this movie with me. Great. Sounds good. It's got a robot in it. I'm in. Mm-hmm. And it was I was a little too young probably to see it, but it's still to this day one of my favorite movies.
Because it's amazing.
Yeah, because it's great. But it's also I wasn't as into Romancing the Stone. I'm well, whatever, it's fine. But
sure. Yeah.
I do have memories, and when I think back of my age, I couldn't have seen, it must be Return of the Jedi, but I saw Return of the Jedi, I guess, in the theater, because that's the only one that really makes sense, because I was born in December of 1977, so I clearly didn't see Star Wars as a cognizant adult. I would have been an infant.
And you wouldn't have gone to the second one, Empire, because you were 3.
You could have seen it in utero and absorbed it,
Right, exactly.
Like mothers will attest.
Just like how my parents went to see Led Zeppelin on Day in the Green. Yeah. And
Stuart...
hold on. That's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of the story. And so what it is, and I would sit there and did the math, and I was oh, that was 1977. That was summer 1977, August 1977. I was born in December. I was well, wait a second. So she was already pregnant with me. My dad's yep. It was so wouldn't that be dangerous to the pregnancy? And he's yeah, but it was Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And that's my parents for you. That shows you my entire upbringing in that one statement.
One of our other guests, who the episode may or may not have dropped, but his mom went into labor with him in the theater.
Wow. That's hardcore.
It's Temple of Doom, I believe.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Too bad it wasn't Raiders, but...
Yeah.
Right before he was snatched from her womb.
I was gonna say, did the guy do the hand thing?
Yeah, well, it was weird because her doctor basically was really into that movie at the time, so just kept saying Kali Ma as he was delivering the baby.
Fantastic.
So
lots of movies early on. I sought them out on my own,
Sure.
but I had them exposed to me. Like my dad's really into Kubrick, right? So I saw
Okay.
2001 fairly early on, and
I'm
honestly,
assuming Clockwork waited a little while.
Clockwork Orange. Yeah, I saw that on my own
Uh-huh.
in high school, and then that's
Okay.
when my English teacher, to his credit, who I gave just absolute metric tons of grief to for some reason, was actually, you should read the book. Like, it's actually even crazier. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so I did, and I was like, oh man, he's right.
Clockwork.
Yeah.
I love how it's something great with literature where, like, the first 50 pages of something, you're like, this is a foreign language, and
Yeah.
then there's that where you adapt and all the slang makes sense to you,
Right.
It's that foreign language kind of connection. You're like, okay, now I know exactly how this guy talks. It's just it's a real nice thing with good writing.
It's like the glossary, right? That shows up with that, and same thing with
Right.
Lord of the Rings. I read Lord of the Rings fairly early on, as well as The Hobbit, and just like, all right, what's that? Let's go to who's this guy? Let's see, like flip. But no, it's something where my love of reading and comic books and movies all were very much intertwined. Like, I would see any Stephen King movie, even though
Sure.
we all know
Most
the
of
hit
them were
ratio
not
on
good.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Did you have any limitations on what you could see or couldn't see?
Not really. I remember my dad was a little bummed out when I put a Hellraiser poster up.
Okay. Because he didn't like Hellraiser, or because it was pushing the envelope a little?
It was pushing the envelope, but he was there. I had very permissive parents. It was sort of like they trusted me to kind of be my own watchguard about stuff for the most part, and so because of that, I never felt the need to like be an edgelord or anything along those lines.
For sure.
But I think it was just like, I get it when he's like, oh, here's your, walking your 14-year-old kid, and there's like a big thing of freaking Pinhead.
Sure.
It's like,
sure.
oh, it is a bit much.
So getting to your list, and you're someone who hosts a movie podcast, so I'm sure it was hard to come up with a list because you've had to watch so many things at certain points.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of ones, even from childhood, like we do it like theme months of movie night extravaganza. We've done like adventure month multiple times. I'm like, well, that's like most of the movies I saw as a kid.
Knock all those off.
Exactly.
But from your list, you gave Gremlins 2, which is awesome. Pump Up the Volume, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Inner Space, and Highlander.
Yep.
Now, it was really hard. The last minute Highlander ad almost had me pushed over the edge into Highlander because I love that movie. But
on this show, there can be only one, Josh.
Yeah.
That's right there. You picked it right up. That's good.
But we're going to go with Pump Up the Volume.
Pump Up the Volume. Talk hard.
So
that's the one that I think it's been the longest that I've seen.
It's been a long time.
So
yeah, that's good. So memory can be a tricky thing. Having not rewatched Pump Up the Volume in ages, can you briefly describe what you remember the basic plot of the movie being? Broad strokes. I don't need like a 45-minute dissertation or anything.
Sure.
Like a minute or two on what you think Pump Up the Volume was.
Yeah, so I remember it's very much a new kid in town story. It's Christian Slater, right? Is the guy, and he's a rebel, and he's very much doing like a Jack Nicholson-y kind of vibe.
Well, I think that's just him, isn't it?
Definitely around
he
this
leaned
time.
into it.
He leaned into it big time. But he does like a pirate radio station, and just because he's a rebel that does rebellious things, and everyone's worried that it's going to teach the kids that you can be a rebel and play, the Pixies.
Sure, yeah.
Although Pixies might not be in the movie, they're definitely on the soundtrack, which there's I've listened to the soundtrack tons and tons and tons, but I remember specifically the Leonard Cohen, everybody knows the dice are loaded, like featuring heavily in the movie.
Mhm.
And for some reason they couldn't get the rights for the soundtrack, so they had Concrete Blonde do a cover of it, which was cool. But I was like, no, but where's the
Right.
one that I know from the movie? What the heck? But yeah, he comes to town. They're like, he's doing this radio station. They don't want him to do it. Like the FCC or something comes after him. They're like, I don't even remember if there's like a chase or what, but they're trying to shut him down. And like he gives some impassioned speech about,
Sure.
I'm going to assume free speech.
Okay.
And that's about it. I don't really remember. There's a romance of some kind, I think.
It sounds like Footloose.
Except for with pirate radio.
Except you
Instead of
take,
dancing.
take out the dancing, take out warehouse dancing.
Yeah.
And maybe tractor chicken fights, and you're replacing it with. So I mean, like if we're pitching Pump Up the Volume, we're saying it's Footloose, but with pirated radio.
Yeah.
New kid in town. He's kind of, you know, he's a counterculture kid.
Yeah. He doesn't
he's
play
the
by
one
the
that-
rules.
He doesn't play by the rules. Yeah. He's gonna ride the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
That's
Josh,
what
have
I
you
remember.
Seen Pump Up the Volume?
What's that?
How familiar are you with Pump Up the Volume?
I've seen it a few times. I don't think I've seen it. Last time I saw it was probably, I don't know, 2005 or so.
Okay. I'm probably more like Conan here because it's been 35 years.
Yeah. I was probably the same age as Christian Slater is meant to be in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, this
When I
definitely
saw it.
feels like I didn't see it in the theater, but I definitely saw it. It was a video store rental. Can't really remember who I saw it with. It may have been a sleepover, which was I don't know. I guess kids are still doing that, but boy, that was a big way for me to kind of ingest movies. Was the sleepover?
absolutely. Yeah. You kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's been at least 30 years. I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty hazy on this one.
So, Conan, you would have been watching this. Did you see it? You didn't see this in the theater, right?
I don't think I saw this in the theater. I think this was a video rental.
Okay.
And
But you would have been watching this from like junior high, late junior high through
Yeah.
high school, probably?
Yeah, that time frame sounds right. And I remember I thought the box art looked cool. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what's that? What is that?
He's holding a
I'm
microphone.
looking at it right now.
right?
I
get
think
it.
he's like holding a microphone.
He's
or
holding a
something.
microphone,
Yeah.
like an
Yeah.
old school microphone. Okay.
Yeah. And he's
I'm
like-
looking at the theatrical release poster, and it's dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
It looks good.
And it probably also kind of centers around the same time that I was making like a hard pivot towards my world being music too.
Sure.
And like it being somewhat music related certainly would have piqued my interest at the time.
Yeah, and it had a lot of like sort of indie heavy hitters of the era on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that that would be part of the draw, I'm assuming.
The Wave of Mutilation UK surf version. That's where that
Mhm.
comes from. But not everybody knows, which I feel like was his theme song or something. It's like what he played when he was about to go on air, if I remember
Mhm.
correctly. And I was like,
I
that
think
sounds so
I
cool.
get it's been a long time, but I think you're right on that.
Yeah, I remember it featured
Yeah.
fairly heavily. Maybe
Yeah.
I might be overstating its importance
Sure,
in my mind,
sure.
of course. But
Were you into music as a kid? What was the gravitational pull for this movie for you?
So that was my friend Clay. It was all my friend Clay. I grew up around, like Black Sabbath, Beatles, Neil Young, Zeppelin. Like that was all like played around the house. My dad like listened to Van Halen, AC/DC, all that stuff. But it was when I first heard Nirvana that the gates kind of got kicked in for me, and that led to Sonic Youth and Butthole Surfers and Melvins and Fugazi and so on and so on and so on down the line. But really, the big thing was that Clay showed up at my door. My best friend Clay, who also was the one who did the terrible movie and good movie
Yeah.
thing, and he had a bass in his hand. He's like, "Hey, I just bought a bass guitar. You need to go get a guitar so we can start a band."
Is this when he first met you?
No, I know him. We'd been friends for a long time.
Okay, because it was like this boy shows up
That's
at your door
presumptuous.
That would
with
be
a bass.
He was a confident kid, but I don't know about that confident. But I was just like, okay, sounds good. And so I didn't really have any designs about playing music until that happened. Then I went and got a guitar. We did all the trappings of what people would do to be in a band for a long time. That kind of started the boulder going down the hill for that.
Okay. And was Nirvana the impetus for him too, or?
Yeah. We were both like, we'd be like, oh, there's, Kurt wore a t-shirt of this band called Flipper. Have you heard of them? It's like, no, it sounds cool though. Let's see if we can find. And then we would try to find their records, and we couldn't because we lived in a terrible town called Modesto.
Sure,
and we had to go up to Berkeley to go buy a Flipper record.
Yeah. Flipper wasn't in all the stores in Modesto.
Yeah, hard to believe. I know, but but that led us, eventually to like Big Black and like Gang of Four and so on and so on. But it definitely started with the Nirvana, and it was a way for us to sort of draw our distinction of like who our people were, like just as much as like David Lynch was or something. Sure. It was like a way to, like, you pick your people by who you're going to exclude. If you thought if you thought that Twin Peaks was stupid, then we don't want anything to do with you. It's not stupid. It's great. You're stupid.
Yeah. Right.
I still feel that way, by the way.
Sure. Yeah. And I think this is it's probably not as much the like millennial experience growing up, but this was definitely like the Gen X thing growing up, was like, oh no, you identify very strongly as being like this, and this, like, like just for instance, like selling out, the notion of selling out. Like
nobody even knows what the hell you're talking about.
That was such a big deal in like 1993. If your like favorite band who was like your precious little indie band that you didn't, if they signed to a major label, you're like, fuck them, or whatever. Like this was a weird time that people who are younger wouldn't necessarily understand.
They don't know what you're talking about. If you say that now, they have no idea what you're talking about. None.
Yeah.
They're like, what? What? How else will anyone hear your music if it's on an Apple commercial?
Right.
I mean, I was just, unfortunately watching some football the other day and just marveling at how accepted and like just constant the use of actors in commercials were. Where, back in my day as a kid, like you had to flee to Japan to
oh my
show.
God, yeah, you're right. Like those nuts Arnold Schwarzenegger commercials where he's like,
and that was also
Clooney in the Nespresso commercials that are playing here now that never would have before. He wouldn't have let that happen.
That was the Sofia Coppola movie. That was like the whole thing, right? Bill Murray's character was like going to Japan to do like Japanese commercials.
And oftentimes that was with the presumption that like the internet isn't invented yet, so it's going to be really, really hard to. I mean, people
to see Brad Pitt in a commercial or whatever.
Yeah, people talking about Richard Gere doing like a watch commercial was like playground rumors. It was like
as much as the gerbil was.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Or Mark Paul Gosselaar dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, or some Nintendo code that would give you a new boss that was complete bullshit, but that you could spout back in the day because there was no way to corroborate that.
Yeah. Just like, I mean, around the corner from us, there's a place that touts itself as America's oldest pen shop, and it's like, well, okay, how would I disprove that? Maybe.
Who's the other pen shop who's laying claim to this?
Right,
also?
yeah. I mean, what am I going to do? Go to penshopverified.net.com was taken for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. It's the world's best coffee that Buddy the Elf happens upon in New York City.
Exactly.
So what do you think it was about Pump Up the Volume that appealed to young you? Was it just the forward-facing music, or?
I'm sure a lot of it had to do with just the music as an act of rebellion, of definition of For me, it was very important to define who I was, and that was in contrast to what was around me, which was, largely sort of vague intolerance towards minorities and casual sexism and just redneck behavior. And the idea of there being someone that was providing an alternate method of being, that was always appealing to me. And not even as like, hey, here's this fantastical escape, but like, hey, here's something that, this dude's doing something cool. Oh, cool.
Right.
That's worth doing. And we would do things like, we would make our own comic books, make our own zines, whatever, things along those lines, which all just sounds so adorable now because now everybody's like, that's what social media, like you just make content for these companies now, and that's what you do.
Right. At least you weren't making it for companies, though.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You were making it for your own edification.
I mean, we even had a short-lived public access TV show that we were trying to be like our equivalent of. At the time, we probably would have said like Kids in the Hall, but it ended up being more like Mr. Show, but
Sure. Okay.
By suburban kids.
And this was in Modesto?
Yes.
Okay.
Public access, everybody. Public access TV.
Does any of this still exist?
Man, I wish. I think I still have some of the comics. I don't have anything from the TV show. We had some good bits too. We had like a Batman and Robin parody. There was a Natman and Blobin. But the conceit was they never got out of the Nat cave, and they were too busy bickering like old biddies with each other. So that was the conceit, is that they always were like, I thought you filled up the Natmobile. What? I thought you did. They're just constantly arguing. And the reason why is because we had the Nat cave was one of our garages. Okay. So we had that set, and that was all we had. So we basically we did it like 5 obstruction style. Like, what do we have?
Okay.
All right, we got this weird looking belt. Okay, that's what gives this dude superpowers. Okay, like stuff like that.
And
I would love to know if it's any good.
All of this stuff. You were pre-taping all of this stuff, and then
editing together. I learned how to edit on the machines with the wheels, like the clicky ones. Like basically, probably the last folks to like learn how to do that. Not that that's useful in any way, shape, or form now, but digital editing wouldn't come along until for a couple years yet. So
yeah,
but I mean, I wish I had those tapes, man. Nobody does too. They're gone.
That's a bummer. Yeah, and it's just early enough that like never ever going to be able to find it. Yeah.
Oh, only people seeing this were like just high. And they were like, did I even see that? What was that?
Right.
I think I saw Batman in a garage. Whatever. But
somebody with like one of those old Sony U-matic VCR.
The top-loading ones, yeah.
Yep.
Do you think
Notice I knew exactly what you were talking about. Yeah.
I know. I've been in those editing rooms.
Yeah.
Do you think that Pump Up the Volume had any, influenced you in that direction of?
Sure. Which came first, chicken and the egg, right? I don't know. It might have been that we were already doing that stuff, and I was like, oh, cool, look, here's like this guy doing this stuff too. Or maybe it was like one of many things that kind of came from this culture of DIY, and if you don't like the culture you see around you, change it in some intrinsic way. I don't know. I don't know how to line up, because it all is happening with that teenage mind where everything is very important right now. It's so important. And then you get older, you're like, that wasn't important at all. Why did I think that was
spend
important?
all of this energy thinking about this and caring about it? It was so dumb.
Jesus Christ. Why did I think that was such a big deal?
I know. If I could do that my entire teenage years over again.
Oh man, can you imagine? Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the conceit of like several movies, but
yeah, like every movie probably.
But it's always kind of boring. I don't know. It's like, oh yeah, I'd get with this girl. Great.
Yeah. It's not even like it's. I think we all.
I would invest in Apple stock. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. No, for me, like I just. And I don't know if this is the same for Sean, but like we both started college at a school that had a film program, but it was all theory and crit. And so like, okay, well, what's the fucking point of that?
You want to do stuff.
Right. Yeah. You want to actually make something. And so then, I don't know, whatever.
And that's the school of, let's just like go and make things. Right. And like, you can learn while you're doing it. You can do it along the way.
Yeah. I should have done all of that stuff. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Got to find that time machine for that movie.
Yeah. What memories do you have that stick out most about Pump Up the Volume and your relationship to it?
I think it's how I learned it's how I learned what the FCC is.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
I had a real idea of like what that was before that. And I'm not sure if I had like a good idea of it, but I'm not sure I even like knew it existed before that.
Sure.
I was like, oh, you can't just make a radio station and just that's what you're doing. No,
Right.
people gonna be mad at you about that. Oh, okay.
We need conflict in a movie.
Right. And I remember that the FCC is like the heavy, but I don't remember like how or why if somebody snitches or I don't remember anything about how it got there at all.
Mm-hmm.
And all I know is, I'm also might be equating some of the stuff with Heathers too, which I love and I've seen many times since then.
Which is
Sure.
very close to this. What's a year or two?
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, this is 90 and Heather's is what, 88 or 89?
Right.
It's close. It's very close.
And it's crazy because I've seen like Heathers probably like 4 or 5 times since then. Hell, we talked to the director of moving Extravaganza. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
But I Pump Up the Volume is just one of those ones that like I'm pretty sure it's a good movie.
But it
I don't know.
In this, yeah.
It was great
Yeah.
for me at the time. It was it was
Sure,
important,
sure.
But of like the Christian Slater, like kind of coming out party, right?
Mm.
Of his early career.
The Timothy Chalamet of his day. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, like Heathers takes up so much oxygen, and then Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves takes up so much oxygen, and the rest are kind of like still the underfed pups looking
Right.
for an open teat.
I mean, I only think about Gleaming the Cube and Pump Up the Volume.
Gleaming the Cube.
Gleaming the Cube, yeah. I mean that
I can't. There's not a fucking cut of Gleaming the Cube that the sound is not out of sync on. It is
Fantastic.
so aggravating. I can't find a cut of Gleaming the Cube that I can actually watch. It's frustrating.
So I mean I was gonna save this maybe the next time we talked, but I will admit that Christian Slater was a neighbor of mine growing up.
Really?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Christian Slater and I both were tenants of Manhattan Plaza. And his mother is a famous name in casting, Mary Jo. And so she was based in New York casting television and movies. And young Christian was a kid that we would see. He was older than me, but a kid that we would associate with skateboarding and nothing else. And like the area for like this kind of apartment playground is kind of hard to describe. It was like a playground that was elevated, and it was in this plaza level between 2 apartments. So people off the street couldn't get to it, right? You had to be a tenant. You had to come through security. But because he was a tenant, he skateboarded down there all the time, and he was not allowed to at any point.
Wow. Awesome.
Because of the amount, like there's basketball courts, but they're all, children running around, and that just meant like older boys with inertia. It's just going to be chaos. And yeah, I never got taken out by him, but he would use children, smaller children than him, to like almost like mogul. Like he would like
I'm trying
slalom
to gleam the cube.
Yes, he would. So when he became big, it was like I couldn't have fathomed the connection until it was pointed out by my parents.
You're like, that guy?
When Christian started to be famous, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's the skateboarding boy from the apartment.
How funny.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to Gleaming the Q, I'm sure, at some point too. But
You weren't like that's the younger brother from Legend of Billie Jean.
no,
Billie Jean.
that is still a movie in my void. I have yet to see that.
I actually
good.
I saw
I
that.
love
I
that
feel like
movie.
I saw that in high school, and I don't remember how I saw it or why I saw it. But fair is fair.
Yeah, fair is fair. Fair is fair.
And I was like, you know what? Fair is fair. You gotta get
Fair-
a good
yeah.
point.
Controversy here on the podcast.
Yeah. Fair is fair.
So what expectations do you have for your return to Gleam of the Cube? Do you think it's
Or
going to
pump up the volume.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, pump up the volume. Jesus.
Take 2.
Again, now that's on my screen.
Yeah. Everything's
Nope.
gleaming the cube now. Which, by the way, sounds like a Lame Stain style phrase, which is to say that. Do you remember when Sub Pop made up the fake grunge slang for like the media outlet was asking?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
I was like, I don't recall Gleaming the Cube ever being a thing anybody said or referred to before that movie.
Sure.
Like, Gleaming
Right.
the Cube? What does that mean? What is that?
Yeah.
I didn't ever
I
skateboard,
wasn't
though, so.
I wasn't in skateboard culture either. So
Yeah,
it,
maybe
it
it
does
was.
seem like it's
Seems
made up. But yeah.
Oh yeah, all the kids say it.
But what were your expectations, or what are your expectations for Pump Up the Volume?
Well, I expect to find Christian Slater, who is in his peak trying to be young Jack Nicholson era here, probably more amusing than badass, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued for like why. I don't know why he's doing the pirate radio. I have no idea why he's doing it. And I don't remember. I don't think it was important to me at the time, but I'm interested in the motivations and how that all plays out. And yeah, I remember I was like, oh, he's so philosophical, and like I'm sure everything he says is gonna be like idiot now, but like. Sure, yeah. But maybe some of it holds up. I don't know. It could be like fair is fair, right? Fair is fair. How do you argue against that?
You can't.
Yeah. How are you going to argue against a woman who wants to go crazy on you? Oh, good point.
Do you think that you'll enjoy it, and do you think that it will be good?
Yeah. So I'm not actually that big on nostalgia.
Uh-huh.
But I think I will enjoy it because if nothing else, it's just been so long. Sometimes it's kind of nice to be like, all right, let's see if this even holds up. If it does hold up or not, I don't, is it going to go up against Bergman's Wild Strawberries? Probably not, but I think it's probably fine.
Whoa. Come on.
Like
That's
my tastes have
huge
changed
presumption.
so much, it's like
Sure.
I've seen so many more movies since then that I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be a good experience, and I think we'll probably come away with some kind of, oh wow, that was in there, kind of anachronisms. Just like at the time I wouldn't have paid any attention to it all because of course it's now.
Sure.
But Max von Sydow was in both, right?
Is he really?
No.
Oh, okay. It's possible. Yeah.
He's.
We did just drop a Max von Sydow movie, but
Yeah, true.
He did. He was in a lot of kind of like, oh yeah, he was in that kind of like movie.
yeah, he's in
for a while.
Dreamscape.
But maybe he's the big bad over at the FCC. We're just gonna get a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, isn't it weird that I don't even remember who like the antagonist is? Like, it just didn't matter to me at all. Like, it made zero impression apparently.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it'll be a face or a name that I'll go like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, like
When
noted
he
character actor, blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Be like, oh, he's in this in like an episode of Magnum PI,
It's
and that's
gonna,
it.
Like in my mind, it's somebody like Dean Wormer from Animal House, that actor. Also the bad guy in Ernest Goes to Camp.
Right.
Somebody like that. I think it's gonna be.
Yeah,
I
just
think
someone
that-
that has big fun ender energy. Big enemy of smiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the vice principal in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yes. What the fuck's
vice
his
principal,
name? Strickland, but
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I used to know his name.
Yeah, doesn't matter. The audience, we'll leave that hanging there. So
I
the
think
audience
that- I
will
think-
never get closure on it. And be very
I know.
upset with us.
I honestly think that the reason
flipping out, yeah.
I think that the reason that Ed Harris was cast in Top Gun Maverick was because of the physical proximity to that actor from the original Top Gun. Because like the first couple scenes, we need like a shiny bald-headed voice of authority to kind of tell Maverick that he's like
It is over the line. Yeah.
that he's writing checks his body can't cash. And they're like, fuck it, Ed Harris.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. He can do that. It's a good job for him. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
It's James Tolkien.
That's it, James Tolkien. You should
I
have
just
known
let
that,
the
Conan.
audience
You read
hang
the
there.
Conan read the Lord of the Rings. He loves it.
I
You
did.
should have
Yeah,
known
no,
James
exactly.
Tolkien.
What are we even doing here?
It's Tolkan, right? Right,
It
Josh?
is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why Conan didn't know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please. I heard the misspelling and I dropped the information.
Yeah. Not interested.
Well, I'm looking forward to rewatching this again.
Yeah.
It's been a very, very long time. For the audience, where can they find you, Conan?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky, Facebook if you must. I guess Threads and X as well. Neutronfriends.bandcamp.com is where to find all my music. That's the best way to find my music. It's on all the other stuff as well, but that's stuff that, maybe we'll see a shekel or two, which is always kind of nice. Mm-hmm. You can find tour dates on our website, neutronfriends.com, or also on the Bandcamp. Weekly Protonic Reversal, Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Stream live, podcasted later. Always free, but $1 a month at patreon.com/Protonic Reversal gets you advance access to the episodes. Tuesdays weekly, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Movie Night Extravaganza. Also stream live and podcast later. I don't know when this is going to be dropping, so I can't even remotely tell you what's coming up. But it's a fun show. Right. It's fun and informed.
Yeah. It's great. There's tons. Unlike this podcast, you guys do movies that I actually want to watch.
I think that a lot of times shows can do funny and shows can do informed, but it's rare for people to be able to do both. In my personal experience, and I feel like we do that very well. And Moving Extravaganza for that and all various things. Caterwaul is the music festival I do that may or may not already have happened, depending on when you're listening to this.
I'll get this out during season 2.
Okay, fair.
I'll make sure.
Yeah, and also if you're in Japan right now and you're listening to this show,
exactly,
it might be a good opportunity to see Conan.
Exactly, we might be playing I will get this out.
I will get this out. I'm looking at release dates right now.
Which is good because we also have a coast to coaster. We're doing East Coast, Mountain West with Elephant Rifle, and West Coast in late May and June too. So
okay, I'll get
if you're in the South, tough luck.
End of March, and this one will be March 27th.
Word. Okay, so the record definitely will be out. Way of the Neutron is a new record. It's been percolating for quite some time.
Right on.
And there's going to be a lot of other stuff for Secret Friends coming up. I think that is all I can talk about right now. But that's enough, right? That's enough.
Oh,
that's too much.
That's plenty.
No.
We're going to take some of what
but it's.
Well, we're going to take what he just said and give some of it to our next guest.
What's a Protonic Reversal? Ghostbusters?
We're just gonna link whatever you have that's a little bit extra to whatever's going on with our next guest.
I'm usually better at summarizing it because I'm the first one to be like, the plugs are too long. I'm moving Extravaganza.
Sure,
but the problem is it's me. I'm the one that has all the plugs. I'm the one that has all the stuff. So it's so I'm usually better about keeping it succinct, but it's the timeline thing, really.
I mean, this is dropping when you have 15 things happening.
I know, exactly. It's a busy little guy, as they say.
I hope when this drops.
Letterboxd too. I'm on Letterboxd.
Oh yeah, Letterboxd.
Conan
yes.
Neutron. I know, Josh. You're.
You're a must follow. Must follow. Letterboxd. Everyone should be on it. You're fucking up if you're not.
What's your 4?
The Player, Brazil, RoboCop, and what am I thinking about? The Network is my favorite.
Nice.
A nice melange there.
Yeah. Mine is just Mandy 4 times.
I always forget that. Then I look at your profile and I'm like, that's awesome. Mandy does rock. We've talked about doing it on the show, and we just, for whatever reason, we never have. But I love that movie. It's bonkers.
I love it so much. I mean, I spent my 5 seconds on Jeopardy talking about myself, talking about wanting to write a book about Nicolas Cage. So, yeah. So that's where my head's at.
Put it in the universe. Yeah. So. So that's me, and the vast majority of the things I do. Conan Neutron is me, so I'm easy to search for.
Yeah. Not a lot of other Conan Neutrons that you're having to fight off.
It'd be weird if there were, and it's funny because I just look like a massive raging egomaniac because my name's in almost everything. But there was another thing called Protonic Reversal when I started the podcast, almost 12 years ago, and so I was like, all right, this is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal, done. And then I wasn't even thinking about what I was doing. In the same way that I've ever thought there was going to be a single show, let alone a lifetime of touring, I probably wouldn't have picked a sentence-long band name.
Sure.
But here we are, and it's way too late to change it at this point. So.
Did you get a cease and desist from the WWE? They were like, hey, that's Stone Cold's signature move. You cannot be Protonic Reversal.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the release date of the new Secret Friends?
Yeah, it's
it's up in the air, but it should
early
have dropped
March.
by now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be
Okay.
a Bandcamp Friday or not, but it'll be out. It'll be out. I think if all of it is not available to stream, you can at least get the vinyl and the CD and purchase the downloads. So
Okay, cool. Well, Conan, thank you for joining us.
yes,
Thank you for opening up your youth to the possibility of ruination. We'll see.
I don't feel like my identity is tied up into Pump Up the Volume, but I am excited to check it out. It's the one that I'm like, yeah, that's the one I've had the most distance from. So it'll be interesting.
Right. I like it when it's been a long time.
Yeah.
That like when it's 30-ish years, like that's perfect for our purposes.
Oh man, and sometimes it's like there's things you're like whole plot lines. You're like, wow, I don't even remember anything about
what the
that.
fuck
Like,
was
what is
that?
what is this
Yeah.
plot line?
They can be good surprises.
Yeah. And horrifying ones.
Yeah,
we'll
right.
see.
Yeah.
There's some give and take.
Uh-huh.
But I'm happy to bring the.
surprise sexual assault. Oh wow, yeah, that's
You never know with this era.
yeah. This yes.
But yeah, I'm happy to bring the phrase back into the lexicon of today. So maybe we can try that. We can just try working it into our daily lives to pump up the volume.
Yeah, exactly.
Because cleaning the cube is going to be DOA. Like that's
That's not happening.
we're not going to be able to.
That
do
ain't
that.
That's not coming.
That's
Yeah.
never coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, try that. Try that the next time you're putting in a coffee order.
Right.
Can you clean the cube a little bit on that?
I'm sorry. What did you say to me?
Please
I think I'm actually going to use that next time I'm at the coffee shop.
try it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got a latte for gleaming the cube.
You have to make sure that the barista is young enough that they have no idea what they're reading off.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's like free verse poetry.
Sure.
That's probably a safe bet at this point.
Yeah, it's probably exactly.
Well, I look forward to next week.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go, everybody.
I'm
That's it.
glad this was on your list, Conan. I really am. This was
Yeah.
one that like I a couple times it had come up in the last like maybe decade of like, oh, maybe that whether it was on streaming or something, but I avoided it, and and now I know why. So I was saving it for you,
There you go.
and we'll talk next time and see what holds up.
See you on the other side.
All right, boys.
Thanks.
You've just listened to another installment of the Unkind Rewind podcast, mining and potentially ruining your childhood for content, one film at a time. Unkind Rewind is a Munchcast production and can be ingested wherever you listen to podcasts and on the Unkind Rewind YouTube channel. Music for this and every other episode of Unkind Rewind was composed by Divorcio Suave. Rate, review, like, and subscribe to Unkind Rewind on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Good Pods. Links to all our social media accounts are in our show notes, but you'll find us as at Unkind Rewind Pod on nearly every social media platform, all of which are available at our website, unkindrewind.com. If you have a question, concern, complaint, or feedback, you can email the podcast at unkindrewindpod@gmail.com or call into our call-in line, area code 507-479-6440, and leave a message that can be played on air. Fans should join the Munchcast Discord to discuss this or any other episode of the Unkind Rewind with like-minded people. This dialogue may just make it into a future episode of the pod. The Unkind Rewind Patreon will be coming soon, so start squirreling that pocket change away. Thank you for listening to another Unkind Rewind.